And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. It is show number 3 of the day. A good way to start the week, too, as well. We just keep adding shows here ever since the press release came out last week there from HighTideCountry.net. And, of course, our good friend Sherry Cranford, great publicist with Splash PR out of Nashville. And, of course, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com and presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey in Honky Tonk, Texas. Pleased to welcome in a lady that I had a chance to follow her journey on American Idol this past year, and boy, did she knock it out of the park. And she was so close. I was crossing my fingers. I said, every day, vote, vote, vote for her to win this thing, but she did a hell of a job there this year. Marybeth Byrd to the Backstage Pass. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, I'm good. It's so good to be on, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being a part of this, too, as well. Well, let's start right there, too, because I want to, your background, I know very well. Some people may not listening in for the first time, too, but you had what I had done for a long time, this radio veteran. You'd been on radio for a while, and tell us about this dream. I mean, singing and kind of, taking that gamble in life, they always say, and hoping it would pay off. And I think Idol did that.
Absolutely. One thing about me that I always tell people, I am a person of many layers. And I think I get it from my dad because, we just can't sit still. We have so many passions, so many different things that we love that has to do with life. And, singing is one of them. And, I'm one of those people, God will put a plan in front of me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go this way first. And he's like, no, you're going to do this. And so that's how The Voice and American Idol was for me. They were very much unplanned. But yeah, I got into radio about 2 years ago when they found out that I was majoring in strategic communications there at Arkansas State University. And it turned into a nice little start to a career. So, yeah.
Which is really good, too. And that's how it always does, is the domino effect, too. I love it, too. When you were doing radio, was it more a little bit of everything? Was it country radio? Did you interview artists? Tell us a little bit about that a little bit.
So what I did, I would vocal track and I would do things in the community, very, very community based. So whenever we needed to advertise for companies around the area, I would be the first person on that as the, face of the mix. It was a mix of everything, which is what I loved because that's who I am as a person. So I got country, pop, all kinds of different times too for music. We would have like themed weekends and it was just a lot of fun, a lot of mix.
When you look at the experience, as you mentioned, The Voice and really Idol, kind of jump on Idol since it's relevant there in a lot of people's minds. I mean, the chance to jump on a huge platform with millions and millions of followers out there in 22, 23 seasons now that it's been kind of in existence too, taking that leap of faith and getting on that show. Give me some of the high points, maybe some low points, but even then, I guess the word I'm looking for is challenging, because when you jump on a show like that, you're with 25, 30, 40 of the best in the country too. Give me some challenging moments too, and then also some of those high points.
Oh my goodness. The high points are just infinite. I mean, it gave me so many friendships. It gave me communication skills, confidence, all the things that a young independent artist would need. That's what American Idol gave me. As far as the challenges, those are infinite as well. Whether it's, your personal life that you deal with, you have to take that on stage with you, unfortunately. And, it can cause you to become emotional, which is what I experienced in some of my performances. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a roller coaster of all kinds of emotions, the best way to describe it.
When you look at choices there, whether it be wardrobe, song choice, judges' feedback, when you go home at night and kind of, lay your head on the pillow and go through the thoughts and some of the feedback from the judges' song choice, wardrobe, what kind of stuck out? What was something you said, I want to get better at this?
Absolutely. So, my parents always taught me this too. We as people were constantly changing. So of course, in that moment in time, I was like, yes, this is the right song choice. Yes, this is the right wardrobe, which they picked most of that for us. But, 4 months down the road, you might look back and be like, why did I wear that? Or why did I sing that part like that? Because we're constantly changing, and us as artists, especially, like an artist infinitely changes all the time. So definitely, I wish I could go back sometimes, but then again, I look back at that person on stage and I'm like, man, that's who that girl was at that point in her life. And now she's here. This is the growth that she's experienced into becoming who she is right now.
Yeah, I heard people say who've been on the platforms, the real work begins when you get off that show. Is that true?
That's very true.
as far as the growth and kind of where you're going now with some of the new tunes and things like that. We'll break down some of the previous singles that you had put out there too. But tell us about kind of what's upcoming now for the rest of 23 as you head into 24. Some new music on the horizon.
Yes. So I work with a team in Nashville. My producer's name is Gabe Neal and his wife, Callie. They are so creative and so talented, and they actually have their own agency that goes along with that. And they've taken me under their wing as their artist, essentially. And we've just come up with just such beauty, and I cannot wait to release that out to everyone. I feel like this past year, it was a journey of not only finding myself as a person and as an artist, but, my sound. It's my whole life. I've had people try to tell me exactly who I should be and, all these things. And then that's just what I would think. I'm like, oh, well, since you say I'm country, I guess I'm country, but that's not the case. I love pop too much to be just country. And I love, it's just a mix for me. And I'm owning that this year. And you're going to hear that through my music.
I love that, jack of all trades too, which is great out there too. And doing a competition like that too, they come up with these Disney weeks and all these themed weeks out there too, which is a lot of fun. What kind of week stuck out for you? And kind of a two-parter here, the themed week, what was your favorite, and then your favorite performance of a song to do on stage?
Absolutely. So I didn't make it to the point where it was super themed, like the Disney night and whatnot, like later on in the show. But I did make it to top 10. And I guess just to bring up, this really challenging part of the competition was whenever the judges picks. That was my final round. And they picked 3 completely different songs, and I had no idea any of them. I'd heard the Morgan Wallen song on the radio quite a few times. Didn't know it well enough to sing it 2 days later, but I did my best. And I think that I'm proud of myself for doing that, because I almost didn't. I was like, God, there's no way I can do this. Like, this isn't on national television, and I don't know the song. What am I going to do? And, that's the music industry. You just have to go with the flow and hope it comes out right.
No, that's it. And a lot of it is media too. Go with the flow too. And I, like you, had it in strategic communications and broadcasting for a lot of years too. And a lot of it I learned in the business was just make sure dot your I's, cross your T's. But then when it came with go with the flow, it was like, man, you just got to wing it, go, do what you got to do. No doubt. No doubt, especially when you're alive too. We'll take a quick time out. More with Marybeth Byrd. It is the Backstage Pass at HighTideCountry.net, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com. And of course, some great shows the rest of this week. Jillian Cardarelli, Joey Greer, Heath Wright from Ricochet coming up here in a few weeks. And if you missed it, we just had Dean Sams of Lone Star on the other day. So a lot more coming up here on the show in the next few weeks too. I'm going to stay busy here, Marybeth. It's just crazy how this thing is really taking off for us here too. Just like your career, I cannot wait to see the next shot of music to come out and just to kind of give us that good punch in the stomach from all the great songs. We'll come back and talk about People Pleaser, of course, Jesus in Jail, and a couple of songs that Mary had released earlier this year. More from our friend here, Marybeth Byrd. It is the Backstage Pass. Hang tight, a word from Bangtail Whiskey. Coming right back.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show again, Marybeth Byrd joining us here this past season's American Idol sweetheart. I'll at least call her a sweetheart on the show because she got to top 10. And, of course, was rooting for her to go all the way, too. But definitely the growth as a singer and just her personality was so emotional. And I loved it so much, the story she told and the songs that she sang. And it really, truly resonated to me in my heart and definitely motivated me to keep doing what I'm doing here on this platform here called the Backstage Pass. So I got to ask you, before the new one comes out in September, People Pleaser. I really enjoyed this one back in April 4th, I believe, when y'all put this particular tune out. Give us a little backstory and kind of where this one came from.
Oh my goodness. Even when you just asked that, I got chills just because of the story behind it. I think that goes along with kind of what I mentioned before the break, just always listening to people a little bit too much. It's wise to, take words of wisdom, but sometimes you can listen a little bit too much and become a people pleaser. And I've dealt with that my whole life. And, me and my creative team were talking about that one late night, and we had no intention of writing a song whatsoever. Got to talking about the subject, and all of a sudden we just picked up a guitar and wrote that song in about 30 to 45 minutes and recorded it, like literally right then and there. We recorded it and decided to release it. We played it to the American Idol people, and they were like, "We love it. You should do it on the show." And really, I think that the message of the song, it's not really, super sad or super happy. I think it's just meant to to tell people that you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. I know that it feels like, the world's kind of caving in on you because everybody's just like this from all different angles, but you're not alone. So.
When it comes to songwriting, is that a process you enjoy, coming up with the ideas to kind of see what you can put out there and kind of see what's, something that's nothing, it becomes something? As far as, some people say it's like therapy when they do it, just getting their true feelings and emotions off their shoulder, and some positive, some negative. What do you enjoy about songwriting?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you asked that. I have found the biggest love for songwriting. And 2 years ago, I thought I couldn't write a song. I was like, I'm too scared to, I have no idea what I would come up with. And usually, when we fear things, we turn the other way from them. So that was me for the longest time. But yeah, I used to love poetry back in high school, and I feel like that's kind of the root of what has helped me along the way. But yeah, I love songwriting. And I always say, if I don't make it as an artist, I would freaking just love life if I could be a songwriter, the whole part of it. So,
were you in choir back in high school? Is that kind of where this notion for artistry? And I want to ask you about, in musical influences growing up. Who were you listening to?
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too. Growing up, I would go from listening to Adele to, Chris Stapleton and Morgan Wallen and Bailey Zimmerman, and then I'll go back to listening to Ellie Goulding, or, so it just really, there's really no in between. But for me, I had a really bad stutter when I was growing up, and I couldn't even talk to people when I was super little, and nothing would help. My parents took me to speech therapy, and nothing helped at all. And I don't know, music just helped. When I was singing, I didn't stutter. So what do? You sing more often since you don't stutter. So it's kind of a safe haven for me. And I just knew that I had to do more of that because that's where I felt the most myself.
This industry, I was watching the CMA Fest, the 50th anniversary pre-record they did last week, from the great shows and the great singers that stepped on stage. Many we've had here on the show, interviewed, talked to, been lucky for that. But this women's movement now in country music, Lainey Wilson and Carly Pierce, and I know one day we're going to say Marybeth Byrd in that same sentence here real soon. So many cool artists are doing their thing in this female movement. What I'm getting at, give me your thoughts on that for the industry of just country kind of as a whole. And I think it's pretty cool to see some of these ladies get their respect they deserve.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that. I've being in just, 2 television shows, and even just some things that I've been to, and just getting a taste of the music industry. It's really hard for a woman to make it and just to be overall fully respected in that aspect, and to have all that creative freedom. Even in the world we live in today, it's still really hard in the music industry for a woman, from what I've experienced. And so to see Lainey Wilson, and especially after meeting her, I mean, she is just, if there's one artist out there to support, it would freaking be Lainey Wilson. She's amazing. She's not only a phenomenal performer, but meeting her in person, it was like I'm meeting a mirror of myself. Like, she has a beautiful personality, a beautiful heart. And those are the kind of people that you need to be supporting.
Yeah, which is great artists doing their thing out there. I'll take you back to a little bit of old school. I say old school, I mean, just last year, Truly Living. I had a chance to check this one out too as well. You probably don't get asked about this much anymore. If you do, it's like people that really dig, I guess, dive deep on the deep end there when it comes to music. Tell us how this got started. And I actually love this cover of this single. Was that an actual family photo?
Yes. Yeah, that was actually a family photo.
Okay.
I think that was Halloween, but it's my
Okay.
favorite picture of me and my grandpa.
Okay.
He used to call me his little rugrat, and I felt like that's what I looked like in the picture. But yeah, I wanted my first single to honor my grandpa since he passed away back in 2019. And that's just what it was. I had to get that off my chest because I do use music as a therapy and to help other people with that emotion. So,
which is awesome too. And I'll tell you this, because those stories, I lost my grandma in 2019 as well, the fall of that year, and full life 94, lived a full life there too at the same time. And it just makes you think about life in general. And it's songs like that really continue to push me forward too. Just Ain't Right. Now this came out as a single, I believe, here in 2023. I want to dive into that one as well. And let's talk about all things Just Ain't Right.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So I actually just got out of a 6-year relationship, and just, all the boyfriends, even way back when, I think that every woman has been through exactly what that song is talking about. Just being with someone who just constantly breaks you down, and you just can't feel like, you can't move forward with them. It's just an impossible situation. And it just sometimes isn't right, how you're treated by some people. So I felt like the message of that song, a lot of women could relate to.
Yeah, I love that one. And then another one we got a chance to talk about here for this year, for 2023. And I know I just can't wait for this new stuff to come out. I know it's going to do as well, if not better, People Pleaser. We talked about that one. But Jesus and Jail, interesting title combination here when these two things come together, because they're not at all equal down the path there. But I will say, just the lyrics in it really can hit home and make somebody think about a life story too.
Absolutely. And that was Mr. Dennis Cook. He was the backbone of that song. He was the songwriter on it, and he lives in Nashville. He works with our writing team all the time. But Dennis is a man full of lots of stories. And I told him, I brought this idea to him. I said, gosh, I was driving down the road and I thought to myself, this boy has me wanting to go to jail, but I love Jesus too much. So I'm kind of in the middle, kind of in between. And so I was like, Dennis, I need your help to write a song about this. I want it to be sassy. I want it to be all the things. And so, honestly, some of our songwriting sessions are like therapy sessions. It's the writers in the group asking you questions, deep questions that I have to answer. And I'm like, well, he did this and he did that, and this is what happened. And, that's how the beauty of a song comes together from what I've experienced. So with that song, you're listening to the lyrics. I thought I was a little scared to release it. I was like, it could come across any type of way. Any person can take this song and make their own story with it because of the lyrics. So,
I liked it too. And like you said, a unique combination of I want to go to jail, but I love Jesus so much too. And that's how song ideas coming out from everywhere too. We'll take our final time out. Of course, rapid fire coming up here in a little bit. We'll get to know Marybeth more on the personal side of things too. A series of funny questions coming at her too. Some could be challenging. Some could just be, as the segment's called, rapid fire here. Just a little bit here on the Backstage Pass. Nothing too crazy, nothing too hard. We'll just have some fun with it too as well. Hobbies will be included in there, and just a whole lot more. I'm sure music is going to be the big hobby as of now. We get a word in for our friends at Bangtail Whiskey. Remember, you can always check us out, the sportsguyspodcast.com. Countdown to kickoff. We're coming up here in just a few weeks. We're going to preview some high school football around the area this Wednesday. My good buddy Greg Tepper with Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, which is the Bible down here in Texas too. We'll talk about that. And of course, NFL, college football over the next few weeks too. So music and sports, it runs together, and it's about to here over the next 3 to 4 weeks. More with Marybeth Byrd, hightidecountry.net. And, of course, the sportsguyspodcast.com, presented by Bangtail Whiskey. Coming right back, final segment.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back on the show, final segment, Marybeth Byrd. I just love that name just as much as they did on American Idol too. Just synonymous, that country name out there too. And I mean, she's going to be she's already a great country artist. Can't wait to see what's going to happen over these next few years. So you mentioned new music. Is there a title for this song here for September? Are we looking at a title, or is it still in the works?
Yeah, well, we were actually planning an album at first,
Mm-hmm.
but we've actually decided to release all of the music that we've written for the album as singles, just to get like a
Okay.
more consistent, like it's still going to tell a story and it's still going to be painted like an album would. It's just going to be over the span of like a year or so. Like it's going to constantly, like new music is going to constantly be pushed out on all social media platforms. But, you know, I've thought about it, and we wrote this song with Callista Clark, called Gray Like You. And it's basically telling the story of like, of someone making you the same color as them. Like imagine, you know, a bright girl, you know, with all these colors to her, and then someone just comes and sucks all of those colors out and makes them gray. So this song would be Gray Like You, and that's the title of it. So I'm hoping that's going to be the first one, but we may release another, but I'm really hoping that it's that one. It's very cinematic. It's a very cinematic country pop, if you could imagine that.
Phenomenal artist doing her own thing, and boy, she is shot up that flagpole pretty quick too. She's done a lot of cool things, and just a tremendous songwriter and just artist kind of in her own right. Callista Clark is fantastic. So you're already working with the great people that you are. I just know the career is going to be fantastic because these great songwriters and great artists that you're already working with. Which leads me, I wanted to ask you about that because, you know, people know, I've seen a lot of these things from the show last week and other different sides of it, CMT, things like that. Artists doing more collaborations, you know, country crossing over into pop or bro country, whatever you want to call it. And you see, I never thought I was going to see Miranda Lambert, Avril Lavigne on stage at the same time last week. Give me your thoughts on artists collaborating with each other and how important that is to the industry.
Oh man, you know, one thing I've never understood, and you know, I'm a very deep thinker. One thing I've never understood is how, you know, the music industry is all about being an artist, and oh my goodness, your artistry, look how different that artist is, and like all these things are coming into their own. But then you get into it and they're like, no, I want you to be in this lane. No, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And it's just like, you know, so I love this new music culture that we're in. It's very refreshing from what we've had. And, you know, as a person that has always been told to do this, told to do that, you should be this, you should be that. It feels great going into a music culture like this, knowing that I can truly have creative freedom over myself and my music. And I'm just really excited to see all the collaborations. I think it's smart too to, you know, play off of followings and whatnot, and just to have fun with it. Because I feel like over the years, you know, being in the music industry, some people have lost sight of the fun and all of that. You know, they're so lost in the other things that come with it. And I'm just glad that people are getting back to the fun of it, you know.
Back in your radio days, was there an artist interview or a band that you got to interview, whether it be kind of remotely or in studio, that you can remember something they said, or they're talking about a song or kind of the music that kind of paved your way to become that artist? Was it an interview or maybe interviews that stuck out with you back in the radio days?
I had a bunch of interviews planned, but I had left the station to fully pursue music at that time. So I was really into just being a full-time, you know, face of the Mix 106.3 and vocal tracking and, you know, doing all of that and going out, you know, on site to promote community businesses. Never got a chance to do what you're doing, which is so fun.
Okay.
I really am. It's really awesome to see you doing what you love and going full throttle at this platform. You know, me as an artist, I really do appreciate, you know, people like you willing to give your time and effort into giving us this opportunity to talk about it.
That's what I created it for, my friend. It's definitely one of those things that's going to be there for many years to come, and definitely just a relevant thing. We'd love to go for it, and that's just dreams and aspirations, just as you do. I commend you for leaving the day job behind and going to do what makes you happy out there too. You know, back to the show a little bit with Idol. Looking back at it, I mean, 3 just iconic judges on that show with Katie and Luke and Lionel. Kind of, I guess, kind of a 2-parter. Was there a judge you kind of got the feedback from that you're like, and of course they all make great points in there, but was there a judge you resonated with maybe more than another one? Kind of one you and maybe gave great advice to take this journey in music after you listened to?
Yeah, I went into it knowing Lionel Richie the least, and I came out knowing him the most. I mean, he is just one of the most genuine people I've ever had the opportunity of meeting. I was worried at first. I went in and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't really know Lionel's stuff. Whatever. But, I went out of that show being such a huge fan of him. And it wasn't because of the music. It wasn't because of, all of it was because of who he was as a person. Like he would go out of his way to talk to us artists backstage. I mean, he FaceTimed my aunt, and I remember having a conversation with him during Hollywood Week about her. And I said, my Aunt Lee loves you. And he remembered that months later at the live shows where he walked by me and he said, hey, let me FaceTime your Aunt Lee, and I'm like, what? How do you remember that? I think that we need more artists like Lionel Richie in the business. I mean, he was just incredible. But as far as feedback, one of the things that I understand where Luke is coming from. I've got a country accent. I'm from the South. All the things. But I hope to one day show him who I truly am as an artist. That maybe the show didn't fully give me that freedom to be fully creative in certain aspects. I hope one day I can stand before him and be like, this song is like, this is who I am. And I got to do that with People Pleaser, and I hope to do that more in the future.
It's going to happen. I've made some bold statements here on the show, and I'll go ahead and say it. Just people that already know, agree with me. It's going to happen. You'll have that opportunity, no doubt, in my mind, with the next one. I cannot wait for the new music to come out, and when it does, it's what always keeps me busy here on the platform. Is you can always come back on and talk about the new music too, as well, which is great there. All right, time to do a little rapid fire. Get to know you more on the personal side of things. Do you remember the first time you stepped on stage? What was the first song you ever sang?
Oh my goodness. It was God Bless America, and I was literally 5 years old. And they couldn't get me off stage. So my mom was embarrassed. She had to run up and snatch me off the stage.
I was going to ask you about it. I love that.
And in there, she's like, nah, my baby girl's wanting to do music for the rest of her life.
So performance and playing in front of an audience, stage presence became pretty normal at the age of 5. So that's cool. Now, being out there and playing in front of a crowd too, over this next year or two, I'm sure the team, are you guys looking at doing some live shows and kind of getting on maybe somebody's tour, opening, support act? Are you looking at doing some of that too?
Absolutely. I actually am playing the Commodore, I think August 6th. So that's just coming right around the corner. And even August 4th, I think I'm doing a writer's round at the Omni Hotel.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
I don't even know my own schedule. Good Lord. Go and look at it. But yeah, just lots of things in the works. I'm really hoping to break into that songwriting scene too, not just as an artist. So
I love that. Give me some other hobbies outside of music. What do you enjoy doing?
Oh my gosh. I'm one of those people, whenever I have so much to do, I will just not do any of it. I'm like, I can't. I'm overwhelmed. I can't. So you know what I do? I go and I get the Carb Smart ice cream bars, and I take them off the stick and I put them in a bowl. Like I put like 4 of them in a bowl, and I eat it with a spoon, and I put my dog on my bed and we watch Netflix. It's one of my really big hobbies. I love.
Well, I've never heard anybody say that on any interview before. So that's where you're so unique there too, which is that is cool. Ice cream and Netflix and make that as a, I've heard a lot of cool things, and I still love that one. That's a cool hobby too. And that's cool because a lot of people do feel overwhelmed in, like I said, everyday life. So,
oh my gosh, especially with social media. I'm like, it's a little bit draining. So going back to the simple things, and even just, I was talking to another fellow artist, and she was like having a complete breakdown. And I'm like, I've been where you've been. And as stupid as it sounds, like walk outside, feel the air, like put your toes in the grass, like really just let go of all the bad things, But.
All right. Favorite food, favorite beverage for Marybeth. What are they?
Oh my gosh. I love cream soda Ollipops.
Okay.
Probiotic sodas. That's my favorite drink ever. Or the root beer ones. I like those too. And then my favorite food ever. Gosh, like I love buffalo chicken pizza. I mean, anything in the world, I'm like, I want to go get buffalo chicken pizza from Pizza Inn. That's what I love.
I love that, dude. It's a lot of fun there, no doubt. So much is going to happen down the line. I cannot wait to see this breakout artist. Fantastic top 10 from American Idol this past year, and people pleasers across all the digital platforms. And make sure you guys go support her, give her a like on social media out there if you haven't already. She is fantastic. Her spirit, her high energy, her personality is terrific. And she made one hell of a radio personality, and now she's venturing off and going to make one hell of an artist out there. The one, the only Marybeth Byrd here on the Backstage Pass. Hey, I appreciate you getting in touch with me. We're able to knock this out of the park. And hey, feel free to contact me when the new music comes out. You come back anytime.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you.
Marybeth Byrd here on the Backstage Pass. Tomorrow, good friend Joey Greer, I'm going to stop by. We'll talk a little Texas country. And then Jillian Cardarelli, tremendous songwriter in her own right, coming on Wednesday. We'll talk to her. And Heath Wright, remember a song called Daddy's Money from the band Ricochet back in, 94? That's a long time ago. I've been around too long for music. So Heath Wright will be here on the Backstage Pass in just a few weeks. Our thanks to Bangtail Whiskey. And, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. You can check us out at hightidecountry.net and the sportsguyspodcast.com. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.